Every trigger is an invitation to understand yourself a little better. We don't react only to what happens, we react to what that situation means to us. It happens because your inner world is running compulsively instead of consciously. Have you ever wondered why one small situation can completely change your mood? Someone didn't text you back and you feel rejected. Someone interrupts you and you get angry. Someone criticizes you and you keep replaying it for hours. Someone doesn't invite you and you start questioning yourself. The situation may be small or big, but your emotional reaction feels much larger than the situation. So today's question is, why do small things trigger you so much? It's one of the most common questions people ask, not just on Google, but in therapy rooms, in coaching sessions, and even in conversations with friends. Welcome back to Untangle Life with Anchal. This series is about understanding ourselves through psychology, neuroscience, spirituality, mythology, and the science of happiness, along with my own lived experiences. Because no single perspective has all the answers, but together they often point us towards the same truth. In today's episode, we will explore one simple question: why do small things trigger us so much? And to answer it, we will look at it through 5 different lenses. Psychology will help us understand how our mind interprets situations. Neuroscience will explain what's happening inside our brain when we get triggered. Spirituality will help us understand our inner experiences, and mythology will show us that this is not a new problem. Human beings have struggled with it for thousands of years. And finally, the science of happiness will tell us what actually helps us become more emotionally resilient. So let's begin with the most basic question. What exactly is a trigger? It is an event, an object, or a feeling that starts a strong emotional or behavioral reaction. Imagine 2 people receiving exactly the same feedback from their boss, from their manager. One thinks, okay, I will improve, and the other one spends an entire night worrying about it, pondering, same words, different reactions. Why? Because we don't react only to what happens, we react to what that situation means to us. For example, if someone does not reply to your message, the fact simply is that they haven't replied yet. But your mind may immediately give it a meaning. They are ignoring me, or they don't value me, or maybe I must have said something wrong. Maybe they are losing interest in me. And it is often not the unanswered message that creates the emotion, it is the meaning you attach to it. Psychology tells us that before we even feel an emotion, our mind quickly interprets the situation based on our memories, beliefs, past experiences, and expectations. So if you have repeatedly felt ignored in the past, even a delayed reply today may feel like rejection. If someone has broken your trust earlier, a small change in another person's behavior may immediately create fear or suspicion. That's why 2 people can experience exactly the same event and react completely differently. Because the event is the same, but the meaning that we attach to it is different. And when that meaning touches an old belief, fear, or emotional wound, that's when you get triggered. Now, let's look at it from the perspective of neuroscience. Inside your brain, there is a small almond-shaped structure called the amygdala. Its job is simple: to keep you safe. But the problem is the amygdala cannot always distinguish between physical danger and the memory of it, or the emotional danger. It can be a tiger in a jungle ready to attack you, or a judgmental comment by someone where you feel rejected. The brain can process both as threats. When that happens, your body prepares to fight, run away, or freeze, what is commonly known as the fight or flight response. Your heart beats faster, your muscles tighten, your thinking becomes narrower before your rational brain has time to respond. Your emotional brain has already reacted. Psychologist Daniel Goleman call this an amygdala hijack. And when this happens, you get triggered and say something that you regret later, or stay upset for hours. The good news? You can train your brain and create a space between the trigger and your response that will help you process the situation and respond in a balanced way. This is where I find some spiritual insights fascinating, because long before brain scans, many spiritual traditions ask a similar question: why do people react differently to the same situation, or in other words, they get triggered? Now let's look at this through the lens of spirituality. It says no one can create an emotion inside of you. People or situations can only stimulate you. Anger, hurt, fear, or joy is something that you generate from within you. From this perspective, getting triggered is not because someone else has power over you. It happens because your inner world is running compulsively instead of consciously. The more aware you become about your thoughts, emotions, habits, and actions, the less compulsively you react. The same situation may still happen. Someone may criticize you, or someone may ignore you completely, but instead of reacting automatically, you become conscious enough to choose your response. And that's when you stop getting triggered so easily. There's a story in the Ramayana about Kaikeyi. For years, she loved Ram deeply, like her own child. Then one conversation with Manthara triggered emotions of fear, insecurity, and jealousy. But here's the question: did Manthara create those emotions? Or did she simply awaken the emotions that were already present within Kaikeyi? That's the deeper lesson mythology offers us. It's not just telling us stories about kings and queens, it is also helping us understand ourselves. People don't create emotions inside us, they often reveal the emotions, fears, and attachments or insecurities that are already lying beneath the surface within us. And that's why we get triggered. Let's answer this question from the perspective of the science of happiness. Research consistently shows that one of the strongest predictors of long-term happiness is not having fewer problems. It's basically having better emotional regulation, a key part of emotional intelligence or EQ. In simple words, people with a higher EQ respond to situations differently. They notice their emotions without immediately reacting to them. And that's why they tend to have healthier relationships, greater resilience, and higher overall well-being. So why do we get triggered? Because in that moment, our emotions take charge before our awareness does. The good news is that emotional regulation is a skill. You can develop it. It can be developed like any other skill. There was a time when small situations used to affect me far more than they should have. I always thought the problem was always outside of me, or with some other person or the situation. Over time, learning and experiencing through these perspectives that I shared earlier, I realized that the trigger was not the real problem. The trigger was pointing me towards something within me that needed healing. And that has changed how I respond to people now consciously. The next time something triggers you, ask yourself these questions. What exactly am I feeling? That is number one. Try to name the emotion. Number two, what story am I telling myself about the situation? Am I blaming the other person for what I'm feeling? Number three, is this reaction coming from today's reality or from an older wound? You don't have to answer perfectly, just asking these questions begins to weaken the automatic reaction because it has now come to your awareness, and that's how emotional freedom starts. The people who trigger you are not always your biggest problem. They are your biggest teachers because every trigger is an invitation to understand yourself a little better. And that's where real growth begins, real transformation begins. If this episode made you reflect on someone or something that still triggers you, I'd love to hear that in the comment section. Your questions often inspire future episodes and other people as well. Next time, we'll explore another fascinating question. Why do smart people make stupid decisions? Until then, keep learning, keep healing, keep growing, and keep becoming your best version.